everyone, and welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host. This week, a new Britbox Original. It's Karen Pirie. Now, Karen Pirie is a show that comes from the production company that has produced two of our favorite shows, Line of Duty and Bodyguard. And it stars Lauren Lyle, who has drawn both critical praise from the media in England as well as big ratings for ITV. So we're all excited about seeing it. Let's talk a little bit about what the show's about. Well, DS Pirie is put in charge of reopening a murder investigation that has been the subject of a controversial true crime podcast. Now, the case focuses on a teenage barmaid by the name of Rosie Duff, who was found brutally murdered in a St. Andrew's graveyard in 1996. Now, suspicion fell on three male students who discovered the body. There was never any evidence, or certainly enough evidence, to in any way, shape, or form pin these three guys to the potential murder of Miss Duff. Fast forward, and the cold case lands in the lap of a young woman by the name of Karen Pirie. Now, DS Pirie feels very strongly that she's equal to the task. That's not necessarily how some of the people that she's working with, some of the old guard, some of the old boys in the station feel. So what we have right here, folks, is DS Pirie going out of her way to show that A, she's competent enough to make this work, B, that even though she's young, she's driven and she has the ability to solve this murder. Not obviously on her own, but certainly she's got that confidence. And there's a bit, what I like about the character is she's gutsy, she doesn't back down, and she's someone who feels confident being feminine, but not does she expect anybody to cut any corners just because she's a woman. And it gives me great pleasure to say that our guest today is DS Pirie herself, Lauren Lyle. And Lauren, it's a pleasure to chat with you, although I got to tell you, after watching the first episode of Karen Pirie, I have a feeling that, after seeing it, that you're going to be interrogating me because you are very good at coming through and synthesizing and making things work there.
Perhaps. Let's see tables turn.
Yeah. One of the things that caught me about this show was that you have this ability to synthesize information very quickly and get to the point, and you're not really one of those people that's a chatty person.
As in Karen or Lauren, because Lauren is chatty. I think Karen, she's not, she's very direct, she's very to the point. She really doesn't have time for all the sarcasm. Sorry, she does have time for sarcasm. She doesn't have time for all the niceties and the sort of gentlemanly nature sometimes of like this stuffy police force. I find the scenes really funny where she sort of wanders in to an office and all the men stand for her. And I think she just finds it utterly ridiculous and doesn't have time for any of that. And so I really enjoyed getting to the point. I really enjoyed the really bland, I guess, what would you call it? I guess you call it really deadpan nature of her that she finds, and in turn that makes her quite funny. I remember when I do scenes, the director and the writer would tell me they really noticed when I'd enjoy learning something or I'd enjoy speaking something, because it would often be the jokes, or it would often be the things where she's being very sarcastic, more so than maybe the police jargon or the things where it's a lot of sort of wordy dialogue to have to get through. I really enjoyed landing stuff and sort of making big men feel small, or sitting opposite someone where she sort of has a two-liner that really sort of hits one of them. I really like that.
It's funny because, excuse me, the way you weave it in, I use a term, it's an American term, I apologize. It's called sassy, okay?
Yeah.
She's a bit sassy. All right. It's like, whatever you say to me, right? I don't want it. I don't want to deal with it. All right. And you put them in their place very quickly, even if they don't sometimes get it.
Yeah, I think I don't even know if I'd call it sassy. I think I would call it just assertive and direct, and
that's fair.
And that she just doesn't have time for it. And again, the sort of she's patronized constantly by her workmates and her workforce, even down to things like when she first meets the Mint, her sort of sidekick that comes in, and he mentions that the podcast that's being made about the murder of Rosie Duff is quite feminist. And she's like, oh, do you not like that? And he's like, oh yeah, fight the fight, do your thing. And it's like it becomes some sort of like her female issue, and it's just not the case. It's the case of solving a murder of a young person. So I really like that she sort of brushes all that away, and she sort of highlights it for what it is. And it's that thing of sometimes when someone is patronizing to you and you ask them what they mean by that, you suddenly pull them up on it and they don't realize what it is that they've said. Or the true meaning of what they're saying comes through. And I love that she wasn't afraid to do any of that. And she is quite fearless. She really doesn't care about what anyone thinks of her. And she really is just out to do the right thing, no matter what, whatever the stakes, whatever the game. She doesn't need to play by the rules. And I think she finds it quite funny and frustrating when people are so determined to play by the rules. And she'll just do what she needs to do, whatever it takes.
The other thing, and you just brought that up, was there is a constant questioning by DS Pride that, you feel as if you are the token woman. It's like, why? Why is this? And so you're questioning constantly, am I here because I'm a woman, or am I here because I've got the talent to pull it off?
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, I guess what you learn very quickly is that she is kind of there because she's a woman. And that is something that really gets to her. And I think so many people can feel like that. I know our writer, Emer Kenny, she's spoken about how so often it's such a battle in your brain of, as a writer, she's often in a room of writers, in a writer's room, and she's the woman, and she knows that she's the token woman there because they need to have that. But she knows that that's also a good thing because it's better that she's there than not there. But you have to try and get over what might be imposter syndrome, because you aren't good enough to be there and that you have every right to be there, and that it shouldn't be that it's just because of your gender. But I think Karen, that does get to her, but I think it also sort of puts a bit of a fire in her belly to prove everyone wrong. And I think that it's just a very real representation, I think, of how many people and women feel, and young people often as well, no matter if they're a woman or not, in a workplace, can so often feel like that they're there, and they don't quite know what the true reason as to why that they're there, and they've got to prove themselves. And it can sometimes be a very difficult position to be in, and sort of hinders her in so many ways. If she was just left alone to deal with it without everyone sort of all these stupid men getting in her way, she'd do a lot better, and she'd just be able to get on with it much quicker.
No, that's it. I know that in seeing the trailer and the screener, excuse me, that that's not going to happen on DS Pride's part. She's not going to let that happen. You had made mention that you didn't want her to wear makeup. You wanted her to be, basically someone you wouldn't think even to wear that. Is that your perception of the character, or how you want to portray the character? Or give us a little insight on that.
Yeah, both. I think it's how I read her. I think she's supposed to be very vanity free. In the book that Val McDermid wrote, she's very vanity free. The looks thing, actually, we sort of steered away from heavily sort of commenting on our looks. And to be honest, that was the thing I didn't want to be the focus, is that, oh, she's this beautiful, sexy detective in any way. It was meant to be that that's not what it's about, and that she's just a young woman in her 20s. She's got a sex life. She's normal. She doesn't have time to always put makeup on in the morning. She's not bothered. She's just not bothered about that sort of thing. That isn't what's important to her. And it felt important to me to portray a realistic version of what she might be. And she's not ugly. She's not sort of knackered looking the whole time and shabby. She's not this sort of stereotype that we often get with detectives, where they're a divorcee with a drinking problem and they're going through all that. And then on top of it, they've got to solve the case. That she is a fresh, young-faced woman right at the beginning of her career. She's eager, she's determined, and she's ready. And that's the focus, really. And I wanted that to be the focus more so than anything else. I wasn't bothered about her having to be pretty, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Now, one last question, and that has to do with you've gotten great, outstanding reviews.
Yeah.
On it from the UK. We're looking forward to seeing it here on Britbox. Is it exciting to you to actually be now a woman in charge of a mystery series, which doesn't happen often? There's a lot of ensembles, but this one, you're the point person on, and even in the United States, there aren't many women who have that role, and you've got that role in ITV, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's honestly unbelievable. When I got it, I couldn't believe it. I remember I was filming Outlander at the time, and I was in my apartment, and I got the call from my agent at we'd been waiting and waiting, and I knew I was close, but I really didn't know. They'd asked really strange questions about certain things, and I started to panic a little bit. And then my agent said, put it to bed for the weekend. Don't worry about it. And then I got a call, I think, from his mobile, quite late at night at 8 o'clock or something on a Friday night. And he was like, Lauren, that's an offer from Karen Pirie. And I flipped out and I couldn't believe it. And we both went, oh my God, this is a really proper leading role. It is your own show. You are the name of the show. And there is a huge responsibility that comes with that is almost more so than just being the lead in a show. You are the name of it. So you really have to carry it. You have to be the face of it. You have to set the tone on set. I felt really lucky to have an amazing, the cast we had and the crew we had, everyone was so thrilled to be there. A lot of the cast, it was maybe their first job, or it was they weren't necessarily famous. They were just absolutely right for the part. And we were so lucky to be able to do that the network weren't pushing for us to do someone that maybe wasn't as right, but was famous to do a part. And so it made for a very happy set, and even the DOP and the director and everyone, all of us and the writer, it was our first times really being in control and heading something and being left to our own devices to make it. And the whole time we all ran around kind of going, oh my God, I can't believe we're being allowed to do this. I couldn't believe that I'd been given this part that genuinely, when people say that sort of part doesn't come around very often, a good part. I mean, a young female detective in a big murder mystery thriller, and you are the center of it all. That really doesn't come around. And when I read the script, I thought, oh my God, and it's a brilliant script. It's not as though I'm saying yes to something that I'm going to have to sort of wiggle my way through and it's going to be difficult. It really was a fantastic piece of writing. So I'm over the moon. I'm thrilled. I still sort of can't believe it. I've been stopped a couple of times now in the UK. It's only been out for a few weeks, and I've already been stopped a few times by people saying they love the show. And I always want, I was going to be Outlander, and it's Karen Pirie now, which is a really surreal feeling. And yeah, Karen Pirie is, I don't know, people keep asking how you say it as well. I'm always it's Karen's like Karen's, which is we're making Karen's cool again, and Pirie like peri peri sauce, like Nando's, if people know that. So it's getting it out there now has been really exciting, and into the sort of mainstream. So I feel a lot of responsibility, but I feel very excited to do it. And I feel like it's really the right part for me to get to do. So yeah, thrilled.
I'm sure it's going to be successful here. We can't wait to see it on Britbox. One last thing, and that is social media. Where can we follow you and make sure that we can continue to enjoy your work?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram for Lauren Lyle 7. I would love to have the full Lauren Lyle. I don't know who's got it, but someone had it before me. And then on Twitter, I'm Lauren Lyle, but Lauren's got 2 L's, the first one. And then I've also got a podcast called She's a Wreck, which does very well. And it's all about, it's all about interviewing very cool people about the albums, the films, and the books. By women, or basically by someone that doesn't identify as a guy, which they've influenced their life. So I've had Katrina Ball from Outlander on. I've had Olivia Cooke, who plays the new lead in the Game of Thrones and in House of Dragon. She came on a few weeks ago. And I've got United Nations bomb disposal experts telling me about first song they listened to after evacuating a war zone. And Liv Cook told me about, what it was like to step onto the House of Dragons set and that sort of thing. So a real mix, but that's just She's a Wreck. You can get that on my Instagram too.
Wherever you could get podcasts, right?
Yeah, anywhere you get your podcasts. And Rec is spelled REC, like a recommendation.
Okay.
So yeah, please do. I'd love that. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming around today and joining us. All the best, and promise to come back whenever you get to season 2.
Thank you. Great to chat.
Special thanks to our guest, Lauren Lyle, who plays Karen Pirie. It debuts as a Britbox Original this week, so be sure to check it out. Also check out all the information on the show and on Lauren in our show box below. We'll be back with some final thoughts right after this from Ford and the electric F-150 truck. Can pickup truck save the world? Well, I'll tell you what, when it's the all-new electric Ford F-150, it sure is going to give it a try.
Can a truck change everything? Well, it could change our company, pointing the way forward for 180,000 of us across the globe towards a digital future with connected experiences and over-the-air updates. It can change the Rouge yet again, helping write the next chapter of American manufacturing. It can change the way we build forever, creating state-of-the-art, zero-waste-to-landfill facilities that change communities and regions along the way. It can change how Americans, how the world, feels about electric vehicles. It can change who we think drives a truck, who drives an EV, who drives a Ford. That's a lot for one truck to do, but this thing's just getting started. Turn it on, and it will change how you think about driving, about towing, hauling, about powering a campsite or a work site. It's the only EV that's an F-150, the only EV built for tough, the only EV smart enough, fast enough, tough enough to carry our name. So can this truck change everything? Well, let's find out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host. Now, if you're not one of the over 75,000 people worldwide who've taken the time to subscribe to our little podcast, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, it's free. It's easy. All you have to do is go to the App Store. You can find us there. You can find us at Google Play. You can find us at Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and, of course, Amazon Music. Now, if for some reason you can't find us there, you can ask your assisted device, Alexa or Google or even Siri to say, hey, look, Alexa, please play the latest edition of Stream On with Jim Williams, and guess what? They'll do it for you. Now, if after all that you still can't find us, pull out the old Google machine, type in Stream On with Jim Williams, hit the favorite button and subscribe button, and each week you're going to get a brand new edition of the show sent directly to your phone, your tablet, or to both. So please go out there and do that for us today, will you? We would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so what's going on this week? Well, Documentary Now, a new comedy, is popping up on AMC, so give that a look. Sports fans, big week. We got NBA basketball starting first week, so it's first week of the NBA season, plus the baseball playoffs are in full mode, and as always, we've got both college and pro football. So if you're a sports fan, big week for you. What to watch on Netflix? Well, that's easy. The School for Good and Evil. All right, it's a drama fantasy. Jexy, which is a comedy. Want to take a look at that? All right, looking over on Hulu. American Horror Story, New York City drama horror. By all means, give that a look. Then you've got the Halloween show, which is focusing on the Poloni show. So the Poloni show on Hulu, it's an animated comedy. It's the Halloween special, so by all means, check that one out. That's one that the whole family could watch. Over on Apple TV, I would say that Acapulco is something you're going to want to take a look at. Ray and Raymond also on Apple TV. It's a comedy, so by all means, give that one a look. And finally, The Vow, which is a documentary, and it's on HBO Max. Give those a look. And one other one, Peripheral, on Prime Video. It's a sci-fi drama. All of that worth your while. Now, in the show box below, you guys know that we have all of our social media. So if there's something you want to tell us about or something you think we should be watching that we're not, by all means, we're very interactive. We love to hear from you. So by all means, let us know. Okay? Alrighty. Special thanks to our guest today, Lauren Lyle, who is Karen Pirie, which drops this week on Britbox. Give it a look, okay? All right, until next week, everybody, be safe, have a wonderful and enjoyable week. We'll see you next time right here on Stream On with Jim Williams. Take care, everybody.